Notification. Okay.
Okay, cool. Recording.
Okay, great. So good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to see you all here. I would like to welcome everyone to tonight's webinar titled, Hey, Mind Your Business, a comprehensive guide to writing a business plan and understanding how to manage a business by Dr. Michael Arbitblit. But first, I'd like to start off by recognizing some of our generous sponsors. First is Learnix, our bronze sponsor. Learnix is a free Google Chrome extension that allows students to document their research journey. As students research, Learnix captures their searches, their sites visited, times on sites, and notes from websites, which they can then export into an organized note page, an auto-generated bibliography, and a snapshot report summarizing their journey. You can learn more about them at learnix.com, which is learnics.com. Next is a friend of NEDLA, Rod's Pulse podcast. In his podcast, Dr. Rod Murray explores topics related to e-learning technologies. You can find his podcast at rodspulsepodcast.com or anywhere where you find podcasts. So NEDLA is a nonprofit organization committed to promoting digital learning for all. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor or a patron, please feel free to email me at douglas.koch@nedla.org. So for tonight's webinar, Dr. Michael Arbitblit will walk you through the multiple components that go into writing a business plan, a business pitch presentation, being a leader, and other aspects of managing a business. He will also share his experiences of business management, leadership, and entrepreneurship through the lens of the entertainment industry, education, and more. Dr. Arbitblit is the Transfer Enrollment Analyst and Manager of the Transfer Resource Center for New Jersey City University. He is a recipient of NJCU's first ever doctoral fellowship, the L.M. Krieger Fair Dealing and Justice Fellowship, for his research on conflict resolution. In addition to this, Michael has worked as the liaison for the Academic Issues Committee for the state of New Jersey and has over 7 years of experience teaching business and mediation at NJCU and Rutgers. Outside of academics, Michael has played a key role in small business development and has been part of the entrepreneurial initiatives within the hospitality and entertainment industries. He graduated with his bachelor's in business management, his MBA in organizational management and leadership, and his doctorate in educational technology leadership from New Jersey City University. So now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Arbitblit.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Like Doug mentioned, my name is Dr. Michael Arbitblit. I have both my MBA. All three of my degrees are actually from New Jersey City University itself, so I'm a proud alum, and I never left, so I work there now. I just wanted to give you a quick summary of who I am and different ways that leadership has impacted me on different career paths. Like Dr. Koch said, I worked in entertainment, I've worked in hospitality, I've worked in education, and different kind of entrepreneurial aspects of that. So a couple of years ago, more than a couple now, a couple of colleagues and I opened up a restaurant and a music venue in downtown Jersey City. To set that up, I received a phone call on Christmas Day asking, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Christmas Eve. Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? I have a business idea for you. And of course, I said, well, it's Christmas. And so December 26th, I was in downtown Jersey City inside of a restaurant that must have just recently closed. And my two friends were just like, you want to do it? And that was the end of that story. 3 weeks later, we had an up and running restaurant and music venue. And I got my first taste of that entrepreneurial spirit and opening up a small business and understanding the highs and lows of that. So I'm going to touch upon different aspects of how I came to that and the different theoretical approaches to leadership and just running a business itself, that helped guide me to that position. I've also held other kind of leadership positions from all the way back to retail. I worked at a couple different record labels as digital marketing managers, and now I manage the transfer office at New Jersey City University. So the different things that are going to be covered today are the personality traits of an entrepreneur, the business plan itself, what goes into it, the business plan pitch, different types of businesses, different styles of leadership, what goes into creating an organizational culture, and different types of marketing strategies. So what does it take to be an entrepreneur? According to the Harvard Business School, there are 10 characteristics of a successful entrepreneur: curiosity, willingness to experiment, adaptability, decisiveness, self-awareness, risk tolerance, comfort with failure, persistence, innovative thinking, and long-term focus. Now, to be a successful entrepreneur, you should have at least all 10 of these. However, a lot of these things you can build up yourself over time. The hardest thing to get into is having a passion and just curiosity in general, and risk tolerance, I'll say, is some of the most important. Going into a small business when you say you have a full-time job and then you want to give it all up just to try out on a business, that's a huge risk. Not everyone can afford to do that. Not everyone has the, I don't want to say attitude for it, but it's that fear of comfort with failure, because said, you will fail a lot, and that's okay. Entrepreneurship's all about learning from failures and constantly being adaptable and figuring out what can you do next and not dwell on what has happened. Because if you are the only person running the business, if you stop, the business stops. And unfortunately, that has been, it happens to all of us. And so the business plan itself can be broken down into different sections. I'm going to walk through step by step and what each thing goes into this. So before I even get into that, what is a business plan? A business plan is a formal document that describes the business goals, methods, and how to achieve these goals. Each of the following parts needed to be included in this document for consideration for investors, partners. This is what you would hand someone, and they will know exactly from beginning to end what your business does, how successful it could be, and this could determine them to if they want to be an investor. Think of it like a roadmap. This is here to guide you as well as for your investors. But if you write this all out and then you stare at it and go, I don't think that's going to work, that's very helpful for yourself. Before you even start this business, you need to know, how are you going to make money? What is it going to do? You want it as tightly written as possible, like I said, so you can hand it to someone who has no idea what you're doing and they can understand it right away. And this isn't just a one draft kind of thing. Business plans could develop different versions over time. So, like I said, there are different parts of a business plan. The first is the executive summary. That's usually written last. That's just kind of a quick summary of everything that's in this plan. There's a chance that investors may just read that executive summary and say, no, not for me. And that's okay. Unfortunate, but it happens. The mission statement is a quick summary of what the purpose of the business existence is and what does your business stand for. The vision statement focuses on the potential inherent of the company's future. What do they want to do? Some people get mixed up between vision and mission. Mission is what, like I said, what is your business doing, and the vision is what you would like to do. Business description, what type of business is it? That could be what type of, say it's a partnership, anything like that, but literally, what is your business? That is where you describe, I have a product, I have a service, this is what it's going to do, this is how it will generate money. So if you want another example of mission statement versus vision statement, I pulled NEDLA's. So NEDLA's mission statement actually is two parts. NEDLA is the regional chapter of an established national organization, USDLA. We're dedicated to free exchange of ideas and information between academic, corporate, nonprofit, government, healthcare, digital learning professionals, concerning the myriad of issues and technological changes in the field of learning technologies and methodologies. As a community of digital best practice, we're dedicated to the development and application of cutting-edge digital educational technology, resources to support and enable powerful learning experiences for corporate, government, healthcare, higher education, K-12, nonprofit. That is an all-encompassing statement. Your mission statement has to sound powerful, it has to sound direct, and NEDLA is a good example of this. You know exactly what they do. There is no frills. It is a very powerful statement what they're going to do. Their vision is to be the premier digital education resource, sharing cutting-edge expertise, learning technologies, androgyny, pedagogy, tools, best practices, and community support to enable learning. That type of vision statement is also perfect. They want to be the best. Most companies you can look up, that's generally what their vision statement will roughly say. You can look up almost any company. They have it right on their website. That's how I pulled this one. Usually I have my students look up their favorite company and can look up the mission and vision statement. The next step is the business plan analysis. So this is, what is the business environment like where your business is located? For this example, let's say it's a United States-based business. So you want to look at the 5 different business environment. Economic environment, is the economy good enough to have this product or service? Do you want to sell luxury things and you are in a, lower income area? Probably not going to do well. Competitive environment unfortunately, we're in the New York metropolitan area where you can find anything everywhere. So competitiveness is very high. So you need to know who your competitors are. Is it too difficult to get into? If you say you want to try to create the next cell phone, it's a very competitive environment, knowing you have Apple, Microsoft, and all of that. Technological environment. Does your area or expertise have the technology needed for your product or service? If you are not confident to know that what you want, it could exist, I don't think it might be the best idea to pursue that business idea. You should change and adjust to what is in your scope. Social and cultural environment. That actually, it could be, is the product or service you're doing, I want to say, in good taste to where you live? Usually that also involves, say you're doing an international business, say you want to open up a business in another country. Is that something that even fits in their culture? A business could fail completely because of that. And political legality environment, is what you want to do legal? Do you need patents? Will that infringe on possibly what you're going to do? Those are all aspects that you need to understand before getting into this business plan. Another thing you can do is called the SWOT analysis. So it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are an internal thing. So you understand, what are you good at? What do you know that you're genuinely have, you think, an advantage over other people? That's a strength. A weakness doesn't have to be a problem. A weakness is something that you're just confident that, hey, I'm not too sure that I know how to do, production. Say I want to create a product. I'm not too confident in that. Usually these type of proposals would be going to someone to say you want to get an investor to find a production plan. That unfortunately is your weakness now, but you can turn it into a strength later on. Opportunities and threats are external. So opportunities are, you pitch what you think is out there that you could take advantage of, or not take advantage of, you could pursue for new actual opportunities to expand your business. Threats are, like I said, competitive, you know, things cost too much, there's a chance that your product, whatever that makes it up, there's a chance that something may go up in price. That's a big threat. Two of the big things that I would say are highlighted in this, like I said, competitor analysis is a big thing, but industry background. If you're trying to pitch a business to someone who is well versed in this, you don't want to be called out for not knowing what you're doing. If you're want to get into a service industry, say you want to get into open a restaurant, you're looking for investors. If you do not know how restaurants have done business before, if you're not 100% sure that 90% of all restaurants that open might fail, and just describing the industry itself, is it, hot new commodity, is it a new industry, or is it something that's long standing? You need to be able to do your research on that and put that into this plan, just to show that you have done your research. Competitor analysis, who's your biggest competitors? Usually I tell my students, be realistic with your competitors. I've saw some companies that will say, Apple's my biggest competitor, Amazon, and you're just starting out of your garage. Yeah, they are your competitors, but they're on a whole nother scale. You have all these little competitors that you may not even be aware about yet. That's who you want to focus on. Be aware that there's these, top dogs up there, but you want to know who is in your way now that you can get a little bit higher. Market analysis. Is there an actual demand for your product or service? It could be just in data. It could just say 50% of people are looking for this type of service. Here's my service. Just knowing that there is a high demand and low supply of your product or service, that's usually what kind of data will go into that. The marketing plan itself is, how are you going to market this plan? You can just say social media marketing, but investors really want to know, what about social media marketing? So be as specific as possible. Could be grassroots marketing, where you're just, out on the streets handing out flyers. Anything to build organic growth, digital growth could help your business. You want to include as much details as possible in this plan. The operations plan, where are we now? It's okay for your business just to be getting off the ground, but investors really want to see that you're actively trying to make this business happen. So say you're developing a product or something like that, they want to know, where are you in this process? Some investors may be interested in just, businesses from scratch. They want to be there from the beginning. But some might be looking for, I've been doing this for years. We've all watched the show Shark Tank. A lot of them want to see, what have you been doing for X amount of years? And I think the operation plan is, I want to be here, but I'm only here. What do I need to get there? Management summary. Who owns the company? Who is who in the company? If it's just you, you can say that you're the sole owner, but say you have a team of 6 people, you should kind of have a hierarchy system. Someone's a CEO, someone's a director, and so on. Starting a business is fun because you can make these titles up. But as long as you know who does what and where, investors will see that you are very structured and everyone's on top of their own department. The financial plan, whereas that's usually where I see a lot of people get chopped up. And listen, I'm not the premier financial person. As a manager, we hire people to do that. But how is your business going to make money? Is it a service? Is it a product itself? You need to know where you're going to get the funds from, what they're going to, and how you're going to make money. And even if you're doing a nonprofit, nonprofits still need money to operate. You need to understand where that money's going and how the money's coming in. And milestones are another big thing. Of, say, like I said, you've been doing this business for a long time now, share some kind of goals. I have a prototype built in 2022. I met with an investor. I have we received $10,000 already. Things like that. Anything that can show that you're making progress. I forgot there was some, it wasn't a quote. It was your first $10,000 or something like that. Their first seed money is the hardest to get, because once you get the first one, the second round, people go, "Oh, what's that business over there? Someone actually invested in that. Maybe I want a piece of that too." So getting that first set of money, that's kind of the most difficult part. Michael Porter made a model called the 5 forces model. Now, this is everything that could be surrounding your business that could have some kind of effect on you. It's coming from all different directions. There's the bargaining power of suppliers, meaning I have a product, my suppliers say they charge me $5 an item. Well, suddenly they want to start charging $10 an item. That's a big problem for me, because that means my expenses just doubled all of a sudden. Bargaining power of buyers. I sell my product for $10. My customers don't want to spend more than $7. If I keep charging a premium, I'm going to lose customers really quickly. Threat of substitutes. A lot of name brand stores, ShopRite and Stop and Shop, they have their own brand, so they can make money off of independent businesses, and that's the power of business. You can do that, but you have to be aware that your product may be substituted for either something more affordable, something better. You just have to be on top of it so you can constantly innovate. And threat of new entrants, kind of the same thing as substitutes, but substitutes are more of existing businesses. New entrants are what's stopping someone else from doing the same thing you're doing, but better. So constantly being aware of the environment and where it's going from all different angles, and that could help you get a grasp on your business itself. So that's an entire business plan. The business plan pitch is almost like a condensed version of that you don't want to keep an investor's attention for more than a few minutes, because like I said, there's a chance that they're going to look at this and go, nope. You want to make sure the information is concise as possible, loud, and easy to digest quickly. The objective of this is to generate enough interest that you'll get a second meeting. This will also help you focus your idea of your business plan a little bit more tightly. Same thing, you can hand this slide deck to someone, they'll know exactly what your business does. So a former Apple employee, Guy Kawasaki, had tips for business pitches. It's called the 10-20-30 rule. 10 slides, 20 minutes max, 30 points font per slide. This is not really a rule, but it's an option. So the first slide you want to have is your title slide. That's, company name, your name, team members' names, title, address, email, cell phone, anything. Because what's worse than you presenting, an investor goes, I love that idea. Who did this? I have no idea how to contact them. Make sure as much contact information is available, because you don't want to lose out on a potential client. Problem or opportunity. Describe the pain that you're alleviating or the pleasure you're providing with your business. That we've all watched commercials saying like, are you in pain? Well, take this pill, it will help you. That's that kind of problem, opportunity, and an immediate satisfaction. That's what business pitches want to see. Value proposition. Explain the value of the pain you alleviate. You can describe this multiple different ways. They go hand in hand. Opportunity, the problem, solving the problem. Underlying magic, describe any kind of technology you use or the secret sauce that makes you special. You want to show how unique your product or service is compared to other things. If you have a prototype or a demo, that'd be great. Google's Glenn Shear says if a picture's worth 1,000 words, a prototype's worth 10,000 slides. So if you have a product in your hand and you can share that with someone to hold, that infinitely better. we've all been to, say, let's Costco, and they give out those free samples. You try that free sample, you may immediately go, all right, I'll buy it. That's what this is. That's that once the product's in someone's hand, it triggers something in them to go, all right, you got me. That's what you want to do for investors. You want to hand them something so they immediately know that you're trying and you're progressing. The business model itself, explain how your concept's commercially viable, meaning can it make money? The less words, the better. Where are you getting money from, and how are you getting that money back in your pockets? And if you have different kind of pricing strategies, if you do a service-based thing, I would recommend putting those prices there. And those are just rough estimates. Competitive analysis, you can take what you did in the business plan and copy and paste that right in here. I'd condense it a little bit so it fits in the slide in that 30 font. Like I said, be realistic with your competitors. It's good to know who your dream competitors are versus your reality competitors. The management team, like I said, who are the key players in your management team, board of directors, board of advisors, and if you have any other major investors already, this is where you would put them. Like I said, once you get that first investor, everyone else may be interested a little bit more. And like I said, if your team was perfect, you probably wouldn't need to be doing this pitch in the first place. So it's okay. And like I said, those milestones, I would repeat them here, just to show kind of, you can do it in the timeline form, you can do it in bullet points, whatever is easier for you, but you want to show that you're progressing with your idea and not just coming up with something on the spot. So one thing, if you didn't notice, the pitch presentation is the 10, 20, 30 rule. This presentation in this little section is 10 slides and it's all 30-point font. So keep that in mind. This is what it will relatively look like. Did in under 20 minutes, but that's okay. So what kind of business do you want to open? So this isn't going to be, restaurant versus, music venue, let's just say. This is the actual different types of proprietorships, partnerships, joint ventures. So I'm going to give you a little breakdown of what those are. So a sole proprietorship, kind of, the most common type of business. You'll see it in, your local bodega, a solo art gallery. You want to open a business, you're doing it yourself, sole proprietorship. Married couples legally count as one owner. The owner is held liable for everything regarding the business, debts, legal action. Like I said, if you're not working, the business is stopping in its tracks. But most important on this is the legal action. Unfortunately, if, say, in a local bodega, you trip and fall in there and you sue the company, you're actually suing that one person, not the actual company itself. So keep that in mind when you're on the other side of things. So just having a sole proprietorship, you are held liable for anything. Partnerships, there's a couple different types of partnerships. A general partnership is 2 or more people who contribute some form of money, management, or labor to the business. Married couples do not count as a partnership. Each member is held equally liable for debts of the business. So it's kind of the same thing as a sole proprietorship, but now there's 2 of us. And it could also be a partnership between 2 businesses itself. Limited partnership, very similar, but one of them is the real full business and the other one is very limited in power. They're only entitled to profits to the amount of money they put in. So instead of a 50-50 split, if you do like an 80-20 split, it'd probably be a limited partnership. Because it's I would say it's only fair, but nothing's fair in business. Limited liability partnerships. So you've probably heard the phrase limited liability for another thing I'll explain soon. The partnerships, kind of the same idea as a general partnership, but if I do something illegal or mess up, it does not affect you. Accountants and lawyers usually have this kind of thing, so it's kind of like a safety net. So just in case if someone slips up, not everyone's held liable for this. Doctors' offices are usually set up like this too, private ones. Corporations, for-profit corporations, very complex business model. A lot of that comes down to multiple, a business owning multiple businesses underneath. They have owners and shareholders. The business is there for the shareholders to make profit for them. Because the shareholders are investors in this. There's usually a board of directors that's appointed on this. They're the ones who actually make the decisions for the future of the company. Nonprofit corporations, you may have heard this phrase before. NEDLA is a good example of a nonprofit. Most state universities, if not all, are nonprofits as well. They can be categorized as a 501c3, which is kind of like a charity. Churches usually are 501c3s too. 501c6 is usually like a league to promote a business. Funny enough, the NFL was a nonprofit for over 50 years because they claimed they didn't make any money. The teams made money because each team was an individual business. And the NFL just so happened to make money. I don't know exactly what happened, but maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, it was pretty recent. Someone called them out and now they're legally a business. Because when you're doing nonprofit, you don't pay taxes. The actual process of getting approved to be a nonprofit is extremely difficult for obvious reasons. If you're getting tax breaks, the government wants to make sure that you're doing everything by the books and not doing anything that could be shady. That the group of friends that we opened the business up together, 2 of them started a nonprofit when I first met them, and I think it was fully approved within like 5 years. It took a very long time for them because it kept coming back with questions on what is this, how is this, how are you really using this money? So the process is very complicated. So if you're looking to create a nonprofit, there's a chance that you may be hit with some barriers. Just adapt and know exactly where everything is going. You have to, everything as transparent as possible. There is another type of corporation called S corporations. S corporations are kind of a little confusing because a lot of this aren't sometimes just businesses themselves. They could be trusts or estates that are actually the owners of this business. So that will generate money for the estate for someone else. They're taxed very similar to partnerships, and there can be no more than 100 shareholders of for S corporations. There's only one type of stock as well. All owners must be paid a reasonable salary, and they use the word reasonable. I don't know the exact number of that, but or what really defines what reasonable is. Their words, not mine. Even if the business is not profitable yet, you still have to make sure the owner or estate of this S corporation is still being paid. Unfortunately, if the business is failing, you still need to pay out that first. I know a type of business that you've probably all heard of frequently, you may see it, LLC, Limited Liability Corporation. That is kind of what I was talking about with partnerships, where if someone falls and God forbid they get hurt, they will sue the owner instead. Limited Liability Corporation is you as the owner are not held responsible for any legal actions or anything like that. That person can only sue the company. And if your company only owns $5, unfortunately, that is what they can all only take. A partnership, there's a chance that they can come after your house, your car, any assets you have. So it's good to know what kind of business you're trying to get into, just so you know how to protect yourself. It's already a big risk trying to open up your business. Why take an even bigger risk? each member of the business is not held liable for the debts of the business. So if you go into it, you rack up a lot of debt, and unfortunately you have to say, this business was a failure, let's close it up. You're not held responsible for that debt. That's the business's debt. So you're cut clean for that. So that's why you see a lot of LLCs popping up. If you're looking to open an LLC, it's actually pretty easy. LegalZoom.com is a good example. After processing and everything and fees, probably looking at like $300 at most, maybe $400 to open an LLC. They'll factor check to see if your business title exists in the state or in the country that you're trying to open up in, and they'll give you ideas on how you can fix your title, and you can actually buy your domain name through them as well at the same time. And another type of business is a joint venture. So a joint venture sometimes is two different companies coming together to make a new product. Coca-Cola and Nestle made Brisk iced tea. I think it was, I believe it was Brisk. They made an iced tea. And they, Nestle, have it right there. So they came together. Nestle is a chocolate company and candy company. Coca-Cola beverages. They came together and made a new product. GoPro and Red Bull also have a lot of businesses together, sponsorships. Those could all be joint ventures. Usually you pour your resources together. Could be money, could just be marketing things together. It's kind of similar to a partnership, but it's with two existing businesses, not actually creating a new business per se. So now that we know what type of businesses you can make, what does it mean to be a leader? So leadership is, I don't want to say a vague description, because it's different than being a manager. And I have a quote I'll show you in a second. But being a leader is being goal-oriented, being motivated, solution-driven. You want to be a guide to someone. Open communication. You have a plan, you have a vision, and you have a way to get there. Peter Drucker, who has worked immensely on modern management theory, says it nicely. The difference between a manager and a leader is that a manager focuses on doing things right, while a leader focuses doing on the right things. And now thinking back, you can probably think of any of your past jobs and say, you know what, that person was a great manager, they were a terrible leader, or vice versa. Drucker goes on to explain there are different kind of philosophies to good leadership in his eyes. A leader's main work should be strategy, meaning internal training and anything like that. External on how to manipulate the market, or not manipulate the market, find your way around and be as profitable as possible. Abiding by business ethics, maintaining personal integrity are prereqs for leadership. If you're not an ethical person, no one's going to follow you. It's almost common knowledge to think about. If you're doing things in a shady way, there's a chance that your employees either will be doing just as shady things, or they will see you as not trustworthy. The military offers some best lessons in leadership development, consistent training, development, and evaluation of that. One book that is given to every single business management student is The Art of War. And that is pretty much how modern capitalism is based on knowing your strengths, the enemy's weakness, competitor's weakness, and how to win. Effective leadership really depends on knowing what motivates people. If you don't know what makes your team happy, how can you get them to work? I know that sounds direct, but leadership, you need to know how can you get something done, what motivates them, what makes them happy to want to work with you, to be on your team, to follow your vision or dream. And like I said, leadership is kind of like marketing. You're marketing yourself to your own employees, not just your customers. Your employees need to be sold, saying, you know what, I love working here. I love this guy or girl. I love being their employee. I hope I can be in their position someday too. Now, what kind of leader are you? I'm going to give you examples of different types of leadership that may appear. Uh, this is a good, self-evaluation about yourself. You'll read through this and go, oh, maybe I am that type of person. I always start with autocratic leader first, because it really opens up people's eyes. They're also known as authoritative leaders. It's a kind of a use of control and use of fear as a motivator. These type of leaders make decisions without any input of their followers, setting up strong distinction of power. Creativity is usually at its lowest here because one person's making decisions and quick decision making is emphasized. I've actually had a couple students who said, yep, that's them. And I asked, have you ever put this into action, or has it been a good idea? And a lot of them come back and say, nope, no one will work with me. No one wants to do this. And they take a hard look at themselves and go, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Given there are, I hate to use the word successful, people who use fear mongering as, a way to get things done. You'll see it a lot in politics, things like that. We actually had a course at NJCU years ago called Dark Leaders, and it focuses only on autocratic leadership and how they market themselves to be in this position of power. It was a very interesting course. You can look up that phrase too, and they have a lot of research on that. Democratic leadership, it's very precipitative of nature. You want people on your team to work with you. You care about others people's opinions. Decision making is more of a team effort than just the boss making the decisions. This allows for a lot more creativity and motivation, almost the complete opposite of autocratic. Laissez-faire is a very relaxed kind of attitude as being a leader. You are not as much of a micromanager. You're not making sure everyone's doing the exact thing they're supposed to do at the exact time. You're that, that boss that you trust your employees to get the things done. You don't need to be over their shoulder watching them. Unfortunately, you can't be that type of leader if you do not have highly skilled and confident employees. Sometimes employees lack direction when they're doing that, because if you're not making the decisions or guiding them, there's a chance that they are just doing the same thing over and over again, and you may be missing out on opportunities if you took that kind of attitude. Transformational leadership, anyone in here is an education person, most likely they are a transformational leader. You want to help people. You want to see them grow. You want to make sure that they're the best versions of themselves. It's very selfless. You want to progress as a person, but you feel genuine joy training and guiding someone to a higher goal. It's very inspirational, and it leads to a lot of creative aspects. Transactional is a lot of leader follower type thing. What's in it for me? Like, yeah, I'll give you the day off if you do this. That kind of leads to, an attitude of, I need to provide something to get something. Unfortunately, that's very common in business, but it just comes down to rewards and not actually about the motivations of the people themselves. And then the last one is situational leadership. Situational leadership is an adaptable type of leader. They broke it down in the model by 4 sections: directing, coaching, supporting, and delegating. Directing's on the low end, so that means they're low motivated and low trained. Coaching is you need to give them a lot of support and a lot of directive. Think of like a basketball coach. You have to train someone and tell them exactly how to do it. Supporting is, I don't have to tell you exactly what to do, but I'm there to be supportive and guide you along the way. And delegating is, I'm telling you what you need to do, but I don't need to be there because I'm confident that you know what you're doing. So a fun ethics question I always ask my students You have 4 employees, one in each of these categories, and you have to let one of them go because unfortunately that is something that you do have to do as a leader. Which of these 4 would you let go first? Anyone can feel free to pop in and think what they think.
I'm trying to imagine letting one go. And all I can think of it is the disaster that would result as that one is left behind. So I don't know.
Anyone else? So usually, Dana?
Sorry, I was gonna say maybe the delegating.
Really? So if okay, that's an interesting so what it usually comes down to is the directing type person, because sorry, not directing, coaching, because they need to be constantly watched, they need to be told what to do, and motivations could be low. If you don't have someone who's motivated or confident in their skill, why are they there? They clearly don't want to be there, and you may not need them on your team because they're, I hate to say it, holding you down, weighing you down. So going into that, creating that sense of culture in a business. Gert Hofstede created over 6 dimensions, and he broke it down to different levels. He did it within United States companies as well as countries as whole for doing international business. You can take each of these theoretical approaches on how to create your own culture within your business, or you can do the fun thing and look at your current employer now and look where you are and say, maybe this culture isn't for me, or where can you see improvements? So the first is power distance, and that could be best described as how close are you to your boss? And I don't mean personally, that does play a factor in it. And then I don't mean literal 5 feet apart. Can you go to your boss about any problems? Can you go to your boss about, anything? Or do you feel like here are the executive level people and here are us lowly workers? So on this scale, a high power distance index is, people in executive high level make people know their place in the business, know that you are a worker and I am an executive person. And low power distance are kind of like a flatter organization. Managers and employees sometimes could be perceived to share the same workspace. That's why office design does play a large portion into our organizational culture. I've worked in companies where all the executives have their own suite, and everyone else has an open floor plan. I've also worked at a couple of different places that are exclusively open floor plan. Having that open floor plan does allow for a lot of connectivity, talking amongst each other, and always being there together. Not saying one's bad and one's good. It all depends on the situation, the type of business, and what's trying to be perceived here. The caste system is a good example on how culture may define it. They have a huge power index in India where the different caste systems could determine where you are in society. Collectivism and individualism. Individualism, a lot of things, every person's out for themselves. You usually say I, me, not we as a team. Usually you like to work alone. In the case of international, United States has a very high individualism rate. It's all about me, me, me. Collectivism is the complete opposite. We like to work in groups, have everyone together. Good example of that, China and Japan. There's a great movie called Gung Ho that is from the I think it was in the maybe 80s or 90s, and it actually is a great example of this, where it has Michael Keaton, who is the American guy in a auto factory in probably Michigan, and I forgot who it was, coming from Japan, and the Japanese company is coming to the United States, and it's this whole culture clash of, everything's about me, and then the Japanese culture is all about we. So a good example is one of the characters, the United States characters, has to go take care of his daughter, have to take her to the doctors. In a normal situation, I'll say normal, in a United States mindset situation, if you ask that, there's a high chance that someone goes, go take your daughter to the doctor. It's okay. Collective of mindset is, we have a big project to do, and you going to do this personal thing may affect the whole team and how we can be, productive in the day. And that's, again, nothing wrong, nothing bad. It's just culture. It comes down to actual business culture and country culture. And that's why you'll see a lot of problems come up in international business when you start doing things one way and someone else does something and everyone thinks they're doing the right thing and the wrong thing at the same time. In the end, the movie, they come together and realize how to work together as a team with a nice 80s montage. Masculinity and femininity is another dimension. And I don't mean is the company more males dominated or female dominated. It's just the definitions he used. So in his definitions, masculinity is a society or business that's big on achievement, heroism, assertiveness, and material rewards to equate success. A more feminine approach to business is, cooperation, modesty, caring for the weak, and a quality of life in the business. Google's a wonderful example of that. Has anyone ever seen Google's headquarters? They have a giant slide in the middle of the room. They have puppy rooms. Why don't we all have puppy rooms? But that is just the kind of culture you want to create. You want to give that sense of you're there for the employees and you're not just there to make money. Secretly, you are there to make money, but you want to have that perception that your employees feel wanted and cared for. Uncertainty avoidance index comes down to risk management. High uncertainty avoidance index usually means you do not want to you stick to what's working. You don't want to go outside of the box. You're not a risk taker. And then the complete opposite side of that is low. It's more creative. You want to be a little bit more taking risks, stuff like that. Usually there's less regulations and more freedom of conduct. That sounds great on paper. Unfortunately, there are some countries that do have low indexes on that, and there's no regulation, and companies can come in and do whatever they want. I won't get into that, but that is a double side of having low uncertainty avoidance. Then there's long-term orientation versus short-term orientation. A lower score on this means you're more adaptable. Situation awareness is emphasized. Usually there's high economic development. There's more focus on the near future of the present. United States is a great example of that. You want to know what's hot today, what's going to make money quick, then you're out. Usually trends are big in that field. High score and long-term orientation are traditions that are usually held. Things are, religious of nature. Everything's nationalistic. You're here for the country. You're here for the long term. Usually you live in the past or the present without a big emphasis on the future. You're focused on what's happening today because today could affect the long term. That does unfortunately hurt some kind of, short-term success because you want to make sure it fits into the bigger picture of things. And that kind of stunts innovation and creativity and economic development. And then indulgence versus restraint. This could be as literal as possible as indulgence. Your company loves to spend money on treating their employees, taking them out, getting them free things, having events, or they're more restraint and money is usually used for practical reasons only. I guess, they kind of suppress the gratification of needs and regulate them through social norms. Again, nothing wrong with either one of them. It's just that kind of culture you want to create within your business. Do you want to be there giving everyone everything they always want, or you're more restraint on that? A good example of indulgence biting them in the butt is Enron. Enron was a big financial firm that gave all their employees options to invest in themselves in Enron, and they had all these parties and all this and everything, and they found out they were doing things illegally, and they fell to pieces. Problem is, a lot of people lost a lot of money quickly. So being indulgent in the legal sense of things is still okay, but be aware that what you're perceiving in your business will be affected on the outside as well as the inside. I do have a little interactive thing as well for show the comparison. I'm just gonna see if it. So let's say United States, and can anyone else give me another country?
Singapore.
Okay, Singapore. So this graph actually will show you the comparison of those different dimensions. So United States is green, Singapore is orange. So you can see that there's a large difference in power distance. Singapore is more collective compared to, sorry, not collective. There's a higher distance between management and employees in Singapore than there is in the United States. Individualism is more reflected in the United States compared to Singapore. Motivations towards achievement and success. They've updated the masculine versus femininity. Must have been recent. Kind of the same almost. Uncertainty and avoidance. Singapore is very against taking risks. And long-term orientation versus short-term orientation. Singapore is more of a long-term kind of thing. So this tool, you can compare multiple countries and you can use this tool to understand, is your idea of starting a business in another country or working with another country possible? And then the last section I want to talk about is marketing strategies. What is your call to action? Call to action is a phrase that you will see pretty frequently in marketing and things that we all do every day. How you even got on this Zoom call itself was a call to action. Register now. Come to this event. Those are all marketing tools to get someone to do something like that. So the couple of marketing styles I will talk about here are utility strategy. Utility strategy could be broken down into 4 separate sections. Utility you'll see in infomercials. The form, the place, the time, and the possession. Form is you show how the product is designed and how it gets to the final product. The place, where can they buy it? The time, can you consume it quickly? Can you use it? Can you receive it fast? And possession, can you get it? And you actually find value in owning it. You'll see that very quickly in infomercials, like, buy this for $19.99, order now, you can get it in the next 3 days. You can do this, you'll be better at doing this. Though if the information is thrown at you in a 30-second commercial, utility strategy is used right away. If you want to pitch your business to use this type of attitude, you show the product, where they can buy it, how fast it is to get, and isn't it great to own this? Modeling strategy is very popular now through social media. You get influencers, famous people. You have some famous actor hold your product. There's a chance that someone goes, there was an example I used. Chris Evans was doing a guy who played Captain America. was doing a cologne commercial, and the cologne commercial was very successful. It millions of views. Everyone saw Captain America on there and go, oh, what is he using? So if you want to get a product or service out, get someone influential to hold it, use it. Our refraining strategy is advertising, take pre-existing assumptions, you give them a different perspective. A lot of these things, like I said, are kind of subconscious. You don't realize it. These are also used in infomercials a lot. Take what you know about bed sheets, take them out the window. Let me tell you about these bed sheets, or any example like that. That usually that kind of phraseology is what, I have an idea of what a product or service is. Now I don't. Tell me about yours. Evocation strategy is your product or service evokes some kind of emotion out of the user and use that to motivate them. We all know that sad commercial that comes on late at night with the puppies and, please donate money. That is evocation strategy and marketing. Google also loves doing this. There was a commercial with one of the parents was, I think, deaf and the other one was blind. And it showed how the child was able to interact with both of them together using Google products. And that was very emotional. But from a marketing perspective, that's the style of marketing they were using. Ownership strategy. Can you customize it? Is it yours? Croc shoes is a great example of that. If you own Crocs, you can put the little, gadgets in them and stuff like that. Phone colors, anything to make the feel like the product is yours personally, give you that sense of ownership. That is a big thing for marketing. Collectivism strategy. If you buy this product or service, you will fit in more with a certain crowd of people. A lot of toy companies do this, and that kind of gets the kids in the mindset of, if I don't own this, I will not fit in. Same thing could apply to adults. Guerrilla marketing is using kind of surprise or unconventional interactions. There is a good example of this. McDonald's using it. On a crosswalk, there's those lines of paint across. They painted a French fry container on top of it, so it looks like the lines are French fries. So if you can think of unique ways to market your product or service using these unique ways, that is a form of guerrilla marketing. Play strategy is, how can you gamify it? You'll see a lot of musical artists do this, that when they're announcing new albums, they'll put out a puzzle or a game that's very cryptic. That Taylor Swift is very well known to do this. Recently did this, where she had this complex puzzle with Google that involved, I think, 1 million people to interact with it to solve this puzzle. It gets people really excited to be a part of something, even if it's solving or playing a game. Skill up strategy is, you want to get better at something, use my product or service, you'll get better. That's that kind of approach. And the eliminate complexity is, it reduces or eliminates real or imaginary barriers to achieve a specific behavior. You may not realize that you don't have a problem doing this process, but if someone says you have a problem, there's a chance you may go, maybe I do have a problem. Maybe if I do use this, I'll feel better. That's a type of eliminate complexity strategy. So in a business, to sum up real quick, you can use all these different aspects of marketing, leadership, the entrepreneurial spirit to start whatever business you want. All it takes is that first step, taking that risk and following your dreams. As cheesy as that could sound, that is what you need to do. You need to understand who you are, what you want, how can you get it, and then achieve that goal. Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, nicely puts it, an entrepreneur is someone who jumps off a cliff and builds a plane on the way down. You need to take that risk and take that plunge to make the business happen. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn. My work email's here. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hi, if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself.
I have a few questions, and I actually first want to have a comment. I think, and you successfully, in less than 60 minutes, gave an entire master course on business. So I compliment you. There was so much information there that
Thank you.
is chock full of information. So you did well done.
And if anyone needs these presentations, feel free to reach out to me. I'll gladly send it to you.
I mean, yeah, and I wasn't exaggerating when I said that that's an entire master class in an hour. So speed master course, good for you. A couple of questions. I started writing them down on a Word document because I didn't want to pop them into the chat. So the first thing, do you have any recommended resources? Like, so if you have a competitor, I mean, the obviously ones, the big name ones are pretty obvious to identify, but maybe a second tier or tertiary level competitors, is there a resource, website, link, agency that can go to be able to find out what other competitors are in your space that you can recommend?
There's not a specific place, but Google is your best friend. And you can look up, just say you want to start a lawn company in New Jersey.
Okay.
You could break it down and just do your research through Google on how to find lawn people in, say Jersey City, and then you can expand it to North Jersey and expand it to New Jersey. And it sounds less complicated than it is, but Google is your best friend when it comes down to that.
Sure. Okay.
There's
then,
also different
last thing-
organizations that you could reach out to. The Chamber of Commerce at New Jersey is a great example of that. I've worked with them in my last position on doing events and things like that. I actually did an interview with the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and they do I think quarterly events where you can attend. And the last one I went to was in Weehawken, on the water. And it's just a bunch of local businesses coming together and introducing each other and how you could, partner with them. There's a chance that you are looking to do something for your business. That other person does what you're looking for.
Cool. It's a similar question. So specific to market research, is there websites, links, agencies that you would go recommend? Or Google? I completely appreciate Google. Google is a very strong tool, especially the more you search and understand how to navigate through it. But a specific market research, are you competitively priced? What are your biggest threats, weaknesses, and so on? Like, would you recommend a resource, a page, a website, an agency to work with?
So if you're looking to go against local businesses, things like that, unfortunately, there's not going to be like a database that has all that information. You'll have to go deep into research and looking, even reaching out to these other companies to say, hey, I have a lawn that needs to be done. How much would this cost? And then you act as if you are a customer, and then say, oh, they're charging $1,000. I can do it for 500. It comes down to just genuine kind of grassroots kind of approach to research. But Chamber of Commerce website has businesses that they work with. That is a good that's a good resource to look at, so you can see if they've had other competitors that are longstanding members. You'll know who you're going up against.
Okay, that makes sense. And then switching back to the slide about the entrepreneurial spirit, the 10 characteristics. I think it was the 10 characteristics. So, going back to your experience, did you always have an entrepreneurial spirit, or was it developed over time when you went into the restaurant business?
So that's a very interesting question. I think to myself that it grew over time, but I remember when I was a little kid, even my uncle and grandfather used to run train events. I don't know how to describe them other than train events in Liberty State Park, where they had model trains, real life trains, and it was just kind of like a giant, almost Comic-Con kind of thing, but for model trains. And I was a little kid, so I was always working there, and I used to sell Pokemon cards. And at the age of 6, I was slinging Pokemon cards and making, and my whole family thought, oh, he's gonna make a few dollars here and there. I ended up making $500 in a couple of hours.
Wow.
So that entrepreneurial spirit is something that you can grow. I just had that one secluded memory that stuck with me because it's just funny. But the one thing that I know personally is I was always prepared and ready to jump at any opportunity to get to that next thing. Almost all of my positions came down to being at the right place at the right time and being prepared for that right time and right place. So the things that you can control is being confident in yourself, being readily available if someone comes up. Like I said, that example of, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? That actually came about when I started doing student teaching. My mentor for my MBA program said, I think you'd make a great professor. What are you doing tomorrow? And I was like, nothing. He's like, all right, come to my classroom and you can be my assistant teacher. And I showed up, and then he put me in front of the classroom and said, all right, teach the course. And that's it.
Wow.
No explanation. And it was kind of trial by fire. And the stuff that I actually talked about in this presentation is a little bit has been a growing presentation over time, but this is the basis of what I used for that, hey, what are you doing tomorrow event. And then I never left education since that day.
That's terrific. Thanks for sharing those two stories, because my next two questions were all kind of related to the first question.
Cool.
And you kind of touched on a little bit. So I'm just writing it down. So I was going to ask, in short, are entrepreneurs, are they born that way, or can they be developed, or is it a learned behavior over time? And you kind of touched on a little bit, but like, do you want to maybe answer that as a separate question? Like, is it developed? Are you born that way?
I would say that it could be either or. You could learn. It's kind of actually something I did want to touch upon, and thank you for bringing this up, is, are leaders born or are leaders developed?
Yeah.
There's management theory on both sides of that. It's some people are just naturally charismatic and people trust them more. That's the natural kind of leadership, but you can also grow and learn theory and just practice, and it's kind of trial and error. So the same thing could apply to being an entrepreneur. If you're able to take a small risk to see if you like it or not, definitely try, because there's a chance that you may think that you have that attitude, but when it comes down to it, it's not for everyone. And I know for a fact right now, I don't think I could take the same risks I did when I was in my early 20s. Just from the entrepreneurial side of things, thinking back, going like, wow, I can't believe I've done that, or that I would even think to do that. So I think it's something that can grow over time, but some people are just naturally born that way. So I hate to say that it's both, but you find out who you are as a person when you're thrown in the line of fire, kind of thing.
I would have to agree with you. I also think it's situational, and it changes in different phases of your life too. Like,
definitely.
Risk tolerance when you're in your 20s might be different than when you're in your 40s. So yeah, so it's great. It's funny that you talked about, because I was gonna ask that same question about leadership. And again, you leapfrog to my next question. So you're chewing through a lot of my questions already. So thank you. Let's see. I have like maybe 2-3 more questions, and then I'll shut up. So the characteristics of the 10 characteristics, did you feel like you possessed a strong enough competency when you first went into the restaurant business? Or again, was it something that you developed, or did you just kind of go in there with innocence and naivete and just forge ahead through hard work and being prepared.
I'll be honest and say there was it. You think that you're at age of like I think I was 23 at the time.
Wow.
I thought I was that way, but I was definitely more naive. Like I said, that trial by fire, you learn a lot about yourself. So there were some aspects of these 10 that I think I possessed. Definitely I was very curious. I wanted to get into music management. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I was very decisive. I knew, yep, I'm doing it. I was adaptable. Was I self-aware of everything? I thought I was. Unfortunately, like I said, 90% of restaurants fail after a year. Our restaurant shut down, I think, after a year and a half, because of all sorts of things. But liquor licenses are very expensive. Comfort with failure. Personally, I don't think I was very comfortable with failure. I was when things started going south, it took a toll on you. You didn't realize, was it me? Did something happen? As you grow older and you realize you have other experiences, it's okay to fail. It's okay to live and learn kind of attitude. And I wish I had that kind of attitude when I was younger. But say la vie kind of. And innovative thinking, that I think that was a big thing for me, where I wanted to do something unique, and I wanted to bring a service to, an area that was suffering from a lack of, say, in this case, it was music. The day we opened up our venue, the other venue that was in downtown Jersey City closed the day before. So it was like an immediate demand and immediate satisfaction. It was weird timing. It wasn't planned at all. They just announced suddenly they're closing, and we're like, haha, come to us.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you've lived to tell, so I think there's an interesting book in you that can come out and people can benefit from your experiences, because it's varied. And now that you're doing something different in the education space, so 2 more questions. Is there any activities or exercises that someone can implement to be able to work on their leadership or their entrepreneurial spirit? And you kind of touched on it, where you were given, your course instructor said, go ahead, teach a class. You went into the deep end and you were paddling fast. So I think you have to live it to really learn what works for you.
I was
and
gonna
what
say
doesn't.
it's a good example of this is someone who goes to school to get, their bachelor's, their master's, their doctorate, and not do their career until later on in life. But the actual experience of it right away, that is a big thing to help practice and develop it. Unfortunately, doing the entrepreneurial side of things is kind of difficult when you don't have the resources or connections, but there's nothing stopping you from doing something low budget. Definitely if it's a service, these webinars are a great example. The cost to do these webinars relatively low, and you can still succeed. Everyone's getting great practice, great experience on doing these type of events. So finding ways to do what you want to do affordably without taking too much of a risk to put your livelihood at risk, that's the best way to do that. Leadership, whatever your current job is, think like a leader and look at the different theoretical approaches, and kind of just that self-reflect on yourself, on who you are as a person, what type of leader do you want to see, then be that leader. That's the best way I can describe that.
Cool. And then the last question, the several different leadership models, the servant, transactional, transformational. Is there when you find that niche as a leader and you're leading your organization, your team, is it appropriate or inappropriate to dovetail into different characteristics of the different models? Like, is it okay to go from transformational leader to maybe a servant leader and then back to a transformative leader? Is that too erratic, or is there a
So,
set roadmap to follow?
So no, I wouldn't say. It all depends on reading the room, and that's kind of what situational leadership is. It's that caveat to flow in between each of them. So it's just all about adapting. Some people could get lost in their own thought on how to be a proper leader, but
Yeah.
look at who you're leading or trying to lead, see what they
Yeah.
want, and then be that leader. You have to have some kind of authority in yourself, to some kind of guidance or anything like that, but work with what you got, not what you want. So it's okay to go from more of a democratic approach. If you set up kind of hey, we need this whole like team-based, and then suddenly you're like fear-based, you're going to turn off a lot of employees quickly, and no one's going to trust you. Trust is a big thing in leadership. So I would try to stay as consistent as possible, but it's okay to be adaptive in certain situations, because one thing is not going to fit every moment of being a leader.
Okay, perfect. Those are all my questions. Thanks. And I would, if you write a book on business and in your experience, I definitely you have a reader here. So
I appreciate that.
cool. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, I frequently find myself at a loss for finding good content for our Bayonne Chamber of Commerce meetings. So would you be interested in coming in maybe in the spring
Yeah.
to give a presentation? Because I think your content is phenomenal.
Oh, thank
And
you.
yeah, I mean, the holidays are here, different meetings are taken up with different holiday events. But in the spring, I'd definitely be reaching out to you to and we could talk further about what kind of content we'd need and stuff like
Great.
that.
But
But
I
I would
really appreciate the opportunity to do that.
perfect. Okay, you'll be hearing from me. Thank you.
For everyone else, I'm from Bayonne too, so
Yeah,
Bayonne, I have a
right.
soft spot to help out Bayonne.
It's a Bayonne thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to say, Lisha, that's a great idea.
Well, if there are no other questions, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Arvid, for this comprehensive presentation. And I'm sure, like me, everyone here has enjoyed the event and now has a lot of information to take home and process. I'd like to thank everybody here who attended for showing up. And before we end the event, I'd like to again recognize our sponsors, Learnix and Rod's Pulse Podcast. And finally, before we shut this down, I'd like to direct everybody to our website, www.nedla.org. That's NEDLA.org. There you can sign up for our next webinar, which is going to take place on the 29th of November. And it's titled Moving Beyond Email in 2024, and is sponsored by Pronto. So thank you all very much and have a great evening.
Thank
You
you. Be
again.
well.